My parents didn't tell anyone about my brother's risky crush on my fiancée until he ruined our wedding. He was caught breaking into her house and is now in jail. It had been 5 months since Emma, 27, and I, both 28M, were going to get married. Everything went wrong when my brother Jake, 32M, made her leave me at the altar. Please help me figure out how to handle this because I'm confused and angry. To help you all understand what's going on, I need to give you some information. Jake and I grew up in a small Michigan town with middle-class parents. Our dad was an engineer and our mom taught high school. They were not wealthy, but they made sure we had everything we needed. Jake was 4 years older than I was, and as kids we were very different. Jake was the life of every party. People liked him and found it easy to make friends with him. In high school he played football and dated the cool girls. I was the quiet kid who liked computers and built websites on the weekends. Jake used to make fun of me for not getting along with other people, but he would beat up anyone who tried to bother me. The fact that he always looked out for me as a child makes this whole situation more painful. When Jake went to college, things were different. He went to parties more, and his grades went down. Before dropping out in his 3rd year, he changed his major 3 times. Even though they were sad, our parents never really pushed him to go back. They told him over and over that he had to find things out on his own. Jake worked as a waiter, in sales, and in real estate, but he never stuck with one job for more than a few months. I went in a different direction. I went to college for computer science, got good grades, and got a job at a tech company right away. After 3 years, I had my own team and was making good money. I thought Jake was kidding when he said that I was now mom and dad's favorite child in the house. We met at a friend's birthday party 3 years ago. She was a graphic artist, and we hit it off right away because we both loved design and technology. I thought she was pretty, but what really caught my eye was how her smile could light up any room. Everyone liked her, and she was so honest with everyone she talked to. When we started dating, everything was great. As things between Emma and me got worse, Jake's behavior changed. When he showed up at our dinner party without being asked, he would say he was just in the area. When Emma was around, he would tell embarrassing stories about my childhood. At one family dinner, he even brought up my ex-girlfriend and said how great we were together. Emma laughed about it, but I could tell she was scared. Emma and I had been dating for 2 years when I asked her to marry me on a trip to California. I planned the beach sunset, her favorite flowers, and her best friend to hide close and take pictures. We both cried when she said yes. Everyone was happy, except Jake when we told him at family dinner. He just smiled and said, "Let's see how long this lasts." The plans for the wedding went well. Emma got along great with my mom, and the two of them made most of the plans. Jake unexpectedly asked to be my best man. I wasn't sure because of how he was acting, but my mom demanded I give him the part. She told us it would help us get closer as brothers. That was the worst thing I did. The wedding was set for May 15th. We asked 200 family, friends, and coworkers to come. That morning, everything was great. I can still remember waiting for Emma at the altar. As she walked down the aisle with her dad, she looked stunning in her white dress. Jake got up just before they got to the altar. What came next is something I'll never forget. Jake screamed, "I can't let this happen." Everyone looked at him. He took out his phone and said, "The truth needs to be told to my brother. For 6 months now, Emma has been seeing someone else while she's been with him." The church stopped making any noise at all. Jake began reading texts that were apparently between him and Emma. The texts talked about their private meetings and private times. Emily's face turned pale. The flower girl dropped it and ran out of the church. They and her sister ran after her. For a short time, I couldn't move. Then I got mad and punched Jake in the face. His friends had to pull me back when he fell over the chairs. In the background, people were talking and taking videos while Mom was crying. As I drove home in my dress, I began to drink. It was midnight when Emma called. She broke down in tears and told them everything. She told me she was lonely because I worked late and Jake was always there to talk. One thing led to another. She said she loved me but didn't understand. I put her number on hold and hung up. I got up the next morning, packed my bags, and drove to a hotel. I didn't want to be in our flat with all of her stuff and the wedding gifts. I told my boss I was going to be away for 2 weeks. After that, I began looking for work in different places. I got lucky when a job opened up in Chicago. I took it, even though it was less important than the job I had before. I left most of my things behind when I moved in 2 weeks. My parents tried to talk to me, but I told them I needed some space. They still call me once a week, but we don't talk for long. People keep telling me that Jake is sorry, that he was drunk, and that he doesn't mean to do it. He's also my only brother. But how do you forgive someone who meant to make your life worse? Jake came to my Chicago apartment yesterday. I have no idea how he got my address. He wasn't shaved and was wearing dirty clothes, so he looked awful. He kept crying and saying he felt bad about everything. He hasn't heard from Emma since she left town 2 months ago. He said he had lost both her and his brother. I slammed the door in his face and told security to get him out of the building. After an hour, Mom called, crying. Told me to forgive Jake because he's family and really feels bad. I don't trust him anymore, though. He didn't just cheat on my fiancée, he decided to tell everyone I know about it in the most embarrassing way possible. Please tell me what to do next. They want me to talk to Jake, but I'm not sure if I'm ready. 2 different parts of me want to never see him again. One wants to forgive him because he's my brother. How do you get past this? For the first update, I'd like to thank everyone for their kind words and notes. I've been reading them all, but I haven't replied yet. I need to talk about what happened in the last 2 weeks because they have been very rough. I got an email from Emma's sister Sarah 3 days after my post. I was trying to concentrate on a new project at work. The subject line told the truth about Jake. I was about to delete it without reading it, but something made me pick it up. The things Sarah told me turned my whole world upside down. Before the wedding, Jake had been following Emma around for months. Since he was the best man, the first texts were just about planning the wedding, which seemed normal. He began to show up at her design office during lunch breaks, saying he was in the area. He tried to be a good brother-in-law by being nice, Emma thought. There was less light in March, 2 months before the wedding. Jake began texting Emma from different phone numbers. People told her she deserved better than me and that she was too good for our family at first. After Emma blocked these numbers, he made fake social media accounts to get in touch with her. He would talk about what she was wearing or where she ate lunch to show that he was following her. Sarah sent pictures of more than 50 texts from Jake. Reading them made me feel bad. He said he would hurt himself in one message if Emma told me about the messages. In another, he threatened to tell everyone at the wedding that they were cheating on each other if she didn't leave me at the altar. Emma was scared, but she didn't know what to do. Because she knew how much I cared about Jake, she tried to handle it herself. She didn't want to make things worse between us. The texts Jake showed at the wedding? Sarah showed that they were fake. Jake had made fake chats with the help of an app that made messages. He had even changed some pictures of Emma and himself so they looked like they were together in places she had never been. Reading all of this made me sick. There were signs Jake was always there, and Emma felt uncomfortable around him, taking her mind off things in the weeks before the wedding. I couldn't see it because I was blind. I remembered how Emma would check her phone with worry sometimes, or how she always seemed tense when Jake was around. I thought it was stress from the wedding. This made my hands shake as I called my parents. Mom picked up and I told her everything. After being quiet for a while, she began to cry. They had kept something from me, but she finally told me. Jake saw a therapist last year for what the doctor called obsessive tendencies and boundary problems. It went on for 3 months, but then he stopped and said he was okay. They thought he was better than me, so they believed him and didn't tell me. Dad called and gave more information. It looks like Jake did the same thing with a friend at his last job. He was crazy about her until she had to tell HR about it. He quit before they could fire him. They paid for his rehab after that, but they didn't tell anyone because they thought it was just a one-time thing. That night, I looked through old texts and pictures and saw everything in a new way. It wasn't brotherly joking when Jake showed up without being asked or said things like, "Emma is too good for me," he had been getting ready for months. I tried to call Emma, but her phone number was still busy. Emma moved to London 2 weeks after the wedding, Sarah told me. In the beginning, she was going to turn down the job offer, but after everything that happened, she chose to accept it. Sarah said that Emma was still upset. She has trouble sleeping, and seeing wedding dresses makes her worry. She needs help from a professional to figure everything out. Jake learned that I was telling the truth. He called me all the time from different numbers. He would say sorry and cry about how much he needed help. At other times, he would get mad and say that I was making our parents dislike him. He even called my boss and tried to persuade him that I was telling lies about him. Dad finally stepped in. He and his mom went to Jake's room and saw that he was badly hurt. The place was a mess, with notes and pictures of Emma all over the walls. They talked him into going to a mental health center. I think the only reason he agreed was because he had nowhere else to go. I feel awful about everything. I thought the worst of Emma too quickly. My doubts about our partnership made it hard for me to make good decisions. Jake knew just how to use that against them. He used the fact that I thought Emma was too good for me to be with her against us. Emma can call me at my number that Sarah promised her if she ever wants to talk. I sent her a long email to say I was sorry I didn't see what was going on and didn't protect her from Jake. I don't expect a reply, but I had to tell her the truth. They call me every day now. Mom cries a lot because she feels guilty that she didn't notice Jake was sick. Dad is less talkative, but I can tell he's also having a hard time. Jake wasn't getting the help he needed early enough, so they let him down and both of their boys and me by not telling me about his problems. I'm still taking everything in. I used to be mad at Emma, but now I'm mad at Jake and my parents for hiding Jake's issues. Some of me gets that they were trying to keep him safe, but their silence did so much harm. I'll let you know again if something important happens. I just had to tell someone about this right now. What really happened was worse than what I thought at first, but at least I know what happened. Second update: things have gotten a lot worse since my last post. Jake's behavior has gotten worse. Even scarier things about his past have come to light. Jake only spent 3 weeks at the mental health center. The doctors told him he had a number of mental health problems and suggested long-term treatment, but he refused to go through it. He said that everyone was working together against him, so he went to the doctor even though they told him not to. They couldn't make him stay because he's an adult. Jake came to my Chicago office last Tuesday. Someone at work texted me while I was in a meeting to tell me that my brother was in the hallway and wanted to see me. When I got there, he was already mad at the front desk worker. He lost a lot of weight, his clothes were dirty, and he hadn't shaved in weeks. He yelled at me when he saw me, saying that I ruined his life by telling lies. Emma would have been with him, he said, if I hadn't turned everyone against him. He kept yelling that he would show everyone they were wrong, so security had to physically take him away. I was called into my boss's office afterward and told to take some paid time off until things calmed down. He understood, but he was worried about safety at work. That night, Mark, Jake's old college friend, sent me a message on Facebook. He told me he saw my first post through a friend we both had and had important news to share. The next day we had coffee together, and what he said shocked me. Something like this must have been something Jake had done before. Jake became crazy about Mark's girlfriend Katie when they were sophomores in college. At first it was like Emma's situation. Around campus, Jake would run into Katie by mistake. He would then send her nice texts and try to hang out with her when Mark wasn't there. Jake started a story that Katie was cheating on Mark with him after she turned down his approaches. He then broke into her car and left frightening notes when that didn't work. Even though Katie's family wanted to press charges, Jake's doctor said that he was having a mental health crisis and needed help instead of being punished. The college didn't say anything, and Jake agreed to let her skip a semester of treatment. What shocked you the most? The adults in our lives knew about everything. In letters to Katie's parents, they begged them not to press charges and said Jake would get help, which Mark showed me. They paid for his medical care, and then helped him move to a different college where no one knew what happened. I told my parents what was going on. Mom broke down and told him everything. After getting help, they thought Jake was better. Last year, when he started to show similar signs, he went back to therapy. But they didn't tell me because they didn't want to make me dislike my brother. They were sure he was over all of this. Jake has been writing on Facebook about Emma and me, which makes things even worse. He wrote a long post saying that Emma had been cheating on him for months, and that I forced her to move to London to keep them apart. Even though most people know he's not telling the truth, some of his old friends have been mad at me and calling me a bad brother. Something strange happened. Emma rang me up. Not as strong as the last time we talked, but her voice was shaking. It's better for her in London, but she still has to go to therapy twice a week. The new person she was seeing was a British guy she met at work. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad she's moving on. She also told me that Jake had been trying to get in touch with her by sending the general address for her company. The AITA staff had to tell her boss to stop getting emails from his addresses. She asked if Jake was getting help, and I had to let her know that he had already left the facility. She then broke down in tears and said she felt bad that everything was going wrong. I told her it wasn't her fault at all. It's like I'm watching my family fall apart slowly. Most of the time, Mom cries and tries to call Jake, but he won't talk to them either. Dad is now 10 years and 2 months old. They're seeing a family doctor to work through everything, but a few meetings won't fix the fact that they've kept Jake's bad behavior going for years. I changed my phone number and asked the people who live in my building to keep an eye on Jake. Everything is being written down in case I need to get a protection order. Mark offered to talk about what happened at college if it was needed. I'll let you know again if something important happens. As of now, all I can do is work and keep my head above water. Thanks for all the support. This community has been great during this terrible time. Third update: I'm writing this last update because I need to end this story because things have become very serious and I need to share this with you. Last month, Jake was caught breaking into the Michigan home of Emma's parents. At 2 a.m., their neighbor saw him break a window and asked the cops to come. Jake was in Emma's old bedroom when the police arrived. Going through her stuff, a bag with her old pictures, some jewelry she had left behind, and her high school yearbook was in his arms. When the cops searched his car, they found something that made my bones chill. Jake made a thorough plan for how he was going to get to London and find Emma. There were copies of Emma's LinkedIn page, and what looked like surveillance pictures of her parents' house, as well as details about her company's London office and nearby apartments. He even had a fake British ID. There were charges this time from Emma's folks. The lawyer used evidence from his car to show that he planned to follow Emma around the world. They weren't going to let him off easy this time because of what had happened before, and how he had been acting lately. Jake agreed to plead guilty. After 6 months in a guarded mental health center, he will be on probation for 3 years. He can't leave the country or get in touch with Emma or her family in any way. The judge made it clear that he will spend a lot of time in jail if he breaks these rules. My parents gave up, defending him at last. They were both broken when they learned that he was going to follow Emma to London. Mom said they failed as parents because they always kept him from getting in trouble. Dad hasn't talked to Jake since he was arrested. They are both seeing a therapist right now to try to figure out what went wrong. Last week, a tech company in Seattle asked me to work there. There's a great chance, better pay, and most importantly, a new start on the other coast from all this trouble. I agreed right away. I need to start over and not be known as the guy whose brother messed up his wedding. Emma and I talked one last time on video chat before I chose to write this report. She's doing great in London. She has moved in with her British boyfriend and her new job is going well. It made me feel better to see her happy and healthy. We both said sorry for how things turned out, even though we now know it wasn't our fault. We agreed that this would be our last talk. She wished me luck in Seattle. Some parts of the story need to end. I have stopped talking to Jake for good. My lawyer helped me fill out paperwork that says I don't want to hear from him after he gets out of jail. If he really changes and gets help, we might be able to try to get back together. Another time. I don't think it will happen, but I'm also not letting that chance stop me. They're sad that I'm leaving them to move across the country, but they get it. My dad even helped me find a Seattle apartment. Mom said she would accept my wishes that we don't talk about Jake. There is an effort to rebuild our relationship that is separate from their connection with Jake, and I respect that. When I read my first post, I was so mad and confused. Right now, I'm just sad. Sad about my brother who died and the wedding day that we lost. Sad that my parents let Jake get away with things for so long. But for the first time in months, I'm also excited about my future. I'm sending this last report in the hopes that it will help someone else who has been betrayed by family. Accepting that unhealthy family ties need to be cut, even if only for a short time, is sometimes the hardest thing to do. Thanks for all your help during this nightmare. I'm going to start a new life in Seattle now.